Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girvaradhari Yashodanandana Braja Janaran Jana Yamuna Tira Banajari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivas Thakur Bhaktavrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Jaya Gurudev, 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 Jaya Jaya Gurudev. It takes the 3 and 4. हाँ ठीक है. Second part. Second part. 3. See, fourth. पोपट लंबा है. ठीक है. 30. ठीक है. ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय. ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय. ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय. So, Srimad Bhagavatam. So we'll be reciting the verse Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 13, verse number 3. Tam bandhum makatam drishtva dharma putra sahanuja distrastro yuyutuscha Suta Sardvata Prata Tam Bandhum Agatam Drishtva Dharma Putra Sahanuja Dhitrashtra Yuyususcha Suta Sardvata Prata Tam Bandhum Agatam Drishtva Dharma Putra Sahanuja Dhitrashtra Yuyususcha Suta Sarvata Prita. Text 3 and text 4 is combined in the Bhagavatam. Correct? Okay. So, tam, him, bandham, relative, agatam, having arrived there, drishtva, by seeing it, dharma putra, Yudhishthir, Sahanuja, along with his younger brothers, Dhritarashtra, Yuyutsuha, Satyaki, Cha, and Suta, Sanjaya, Saradvata, Kripacharya, Pritha, Kunti, Kandhari, Draupadi, Brahmana, O Brahmanas, Subhadra, Cha, and Uttara, Kripi, Anyaha, others, Cha, and Jamaya, wives of other family members, Pandaha, of the Pandavas, Gyataha, family members, Sasutaha, along with other sons, Striya, the ladies. The translation is as follows. When they saw Vidur return to the palace, all the inhabitants, Maharaj Yudhishthir, his younger brothers, Dhritarashtra, Satyaki, Sanjaya, Kripacharya, Kunti, Kandhari, Draupadi, Subhadra, Uttara, Kripi, many other wives of the Kauravas, and other ladies with children, all hurried to him in great delight. It so appeared that they had regained their consciousness after a long period. So, in the purport, we'll be taking the second part of the purport, that is from Draupadi. Draupadi, the most chaste daughter of Maharaj Drupad, and partly an incarnation of the goddess Sachi, the wife of Indra. Maharaj Drupad performed a great sacrifice under the superintendence of the sage Yaja. By his first offering, Dhriഷ്ടadumna was born, and by the second offering, Draupadi was born. She is therefore the sister of Drishtadumna, and she is also named Panchali. The 5 Pandavas married her as a common wife, and each of them begot a son in her. Maharaj Yudhishthir begot a son named Pratibhit. Bhimsen begot a son named Suta Soma. Arjun begot Sutakriti. Nakula begot Satanika, and Sahadev begot Sutakarma. She is described as a most beautiful lady, equal to her mother-in-law Kunti. During her birth, there was an arrow message that she would be called Krishna. The same message also declared that she was born to kill many a Kshatriya. By dint of her blessings from Sankara, she was awarded 5 husbands, equally qualified. When she preferred to select her own husband, princes and kings were invited from all the countries of the world. She was married with the Pandavas during the exile in the forest. But when they went back home, Maharaj Drupad gave them immense wealth as dowry. She was well received by all the daughters-in-law of Dhritarashtra. When she was lost in a gambling game, she was forcefully dragged into the assembly hall, and an attempt was made by Dusashan to see her naked beauty, even though there were elderly persons like Bhishma and Drona present. She was a great devotee of Lord Krishna, and by her praying, the Lord himself became an unlimited garment to save her from the insult. A demon of the name Jatasura kidnapped her, but her second husband, Bhimsen, killed the demon and saved her. She saved the Pandavas from the curse of Maharishi Durvas by the grace of Lord Krishna. When the Pandavas lived incognito in the palace of Virata, Kichaka was attracted by her executive beauty, and by arrangement with Bhima, the devil was killed and she was saved. She was very much aggrieved when her 5 sons were killed by Ashwathama. At the last stage, she accompanied her husband Yudhishthir and others and fell on the way. The cause of her falling was explained by Yudhishthir. But when Yudhishthir entered the heavenly planet, he saw Draupadi gloriously present there as the goddess of fortune in the heavenly planet. The second of the purport speaks of Subhadra, daughter of Vasudeva and sister of Lord Sri Krishna. She was not only a very dear daughter of Vasudeva, but also a very dear sister to both Krishna and Baldev. The 2 brothers and sisters are represented in the famous Jagannath temple of Puri, and the temple is still visited by thousands of pilgrims daily. This temple is in remembrance of the Lord's visit at Kurukshetra during an occasion of solar eclipse and his subsequent meeting with the residents of Vrindavan. The meeting of Radha and Krishna during this occasion is a very pathetic story, and Lord Sri Chaitanya, in the ecstasy of Radharani, always pinned for Lord Krishna at Jagannath Puri. While Arjuna was at Dwarka, he wanted to have Subhadra as his queen, and he expressed his desire to Lord Krishna. Sri Krishna knew that his elder brother, Lord Baldev, was arranging her marriage elsewhere. And since he did not dare to go against the arrangement of Baldev, he advised Arjun to kidnap Subhadra. So when all of them were on a pleasure trip on the Rayuta hill, Arjun managed to kidnap Subhadra according to the plan of Sri Krishna. Sri Baldev was very angry at Arjun and he wanted to kill him, but Lord Krishna implored his brother to excuse Arjun. Then Subhadra was duly married with Arjun and Abhimanyu was born of Subhadra. At the premature death of Abhimanyu, Subhadra was very mortified, but on the birth of Parikshit, she was happy and solaced. Om Agyantamirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshumuntandena Tasmai Shri Gurve Namaha Sri Krishna Manobhishtam Stapitam Ena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Tadati Swapadam Hitam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yukta Padakamalam Shri Guru Visham Samcha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Ragunatam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Sabhabhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Saganar Surita Shri Vishakam Tamcha. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute. Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishabhanu Sute Devi Pranami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpa Taruvesha Kripa Sindhu Vevacha Patita Nam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivas Adi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So welcome to the Srimad Bhagavatam class. So in the purport, Srila Prabhupada basically talks of two great personalities. That is Draupadi and Subhadra Maya. So we'll be discussing on them. So first we'll be discussing on Draupadi. So if one goes through Draupadi's life, she went through many challenges, and so Krishna has various reasons to put his devotees through challenges. One is that he wants to glorify his devotees, to show that the devotees, even though in their challenging situations, they always take my shelter. And the second is that Krishna, through them, also teaches us various lessons which will help us in our spiritual journey. So if you study Draupadi's life, there are many instances where she has gone through many challenging situations. One of the very big challenging situation was when she was lost in the gambling match. We all know the story that Yudhishthira Maharaj lost her in the gambling match. And then when the message was sent to her to come, so finally in the end, Dusashan himself went, and Dusashan caught hold of Draupadi's hair and dragged her in the assembly. Imagine a queen of a status, most chaste lady, being dragged in the assembly where they were all, Bhishmitama was there, Dronacharya there, all the elders were there, and she was dragged there. And she also knew that her husbands, the husbands also were lost in the gambling match. So Draupadi, she appealed to all the elders that please help me, But the elders, they could not do anything. Draupadi looked at all her 5 husbands. I'm like, they're the most powerful. But at this situation, her husbands also put their head down. Then Draupadi, and then Dusashan started pulling her sari to strip her. Draupadi, she was the most chaste lady. And she was trying to hold the sari on herself first. She was trying, on her own strength, she was trying to hold the sari. But obviously, she was no match to Dusashan. Dusashan, he had the strength of 10,000 elephants. So then Draupadi understood that now there is no one else. I can just depend on my Lord Krishna. And then she just left her hand and she lifted the hands high in the air and she called out, Hey Krishna, Hey Govinda. She cried out with full intensity. She cried out in helpless desperation. These 2 words very important. What? Helpless desperation. She cried with that. Hey Krishna, Hey Govinda. And when she did that, Krishna took the form of her sari, and then Dusashan kept on pulling. Then Dusashan, he was so exhausted that he gave up the idea of pulling her sari. I'm like, so obviously this is a very long story. I put it in short. Now from the story, we can understand many lessons we can learn. One thing is that sometimes on a spiritual journey, we sometimes may feel, okay, चलो मैं अपने बल बूते पर यहाँ तक पहुँच गया. हमारा कुछ बल भी नहीं है, बूता भी नहीं. We are just insignificant. Krishna through this is trying to teach us that we don't have any strength of our own. We can do anything in this world only if Krishna gives us the strength. It may be our power to speak, our power to see, our power to hear, our power to even to walk from here, even take one step. If Krishna withdraws that power, we are helpless, helpless. So through this, Krishna teaching us that yes, anything without my sanction can't be done. And other things that yes, whenever anything challenging situation comes, if we appeal to Krishna in helpless desperation, it is Krishna's guarantee, not 99.99%. Sometimes when you go to these jewelry shop, they say, this gold is 99% pure. This gold is 99.9% pure. This has this hallmark and this, that. But Krishna's assurance is 100%. There's nothing like 99.99%. Krishna assures us that if anyone in helpless desperation calls to him, this Krishna's guarantee, Krishna will give help to him. Then, through this story, there's another thing which acharyas, or a very nice learning lesson, is that Draupadi, when her sari was being pulled, she understood that now I am all alone. In the same way, in one day, we are all going to be in Draupadi's situation. All of us here. Forget all of us here. Every living entity in this whole creation is going to be in Draupadi's situation all alone. And that is at the time of her death. Like Draupadi, when her sari was being pulled, her husband, the elders, everything what she had, nothing was going to come in use. Nothing was coming in use. The same way, when हमारा जब बुलावा आएगा, when our death call comes, all our name, fame, wealth, prestige, nothing is going to help us. Death is going to be pulling on one side and we'll be pulling on the other side. And we are going to be all alone and helpless. So it is only when we take the names of Krishna, when we call out Krishna's name, Krishna will help us. And another thing from this episode of this Vastaharan, another thing we can learn is that just before the gambling match, just few minutes before the gambling match, Yudhishthira Maharaj, he was a very powerful king. He had tremendous wealth. He had a big kingdom. But in just few minutes, he lost everything. Everything. So in the same way, sometimes, we all know there's so many stories in, many business magazines and business newspapers. People who have been, millionaires or billionaires, and overnight they have turned paupers. Overnight. So, through the story, we should understand that, everything in this material world is temporary. Everything is temporary. Only one thing is permanent. That is our relationship with Lord Krishna. This is the only permanent thing. And we have to live a life in such a way that we try to revive this lost relationship with the Lord. This relationship is there, but it is covered up because of our, so many lives of conditioning. So we have to, with good sadhana, revive that lost relationship with the Lord. And like we were discussing this story, Draupadi called out with helplessness. Basically, spiritual life is a matter of intensity. Intensity. Say if anything, suppose in the outside world also intensity matters, Say someone is drowning, and, he doesn't know how to swim, and he's saying, help, 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 God, who's going to hear him? He has to shout with intensity, help, 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 When he shouts with intensity, the people on the riverside who are half awake also, they'll get up, who's shouting, and they'll immediately come and help, In this regard, when you talk of like spiritual life is a matter of intensity, once Tamal Krishna Maharaj, he was in Vrindavan. So Tamal Krishna Maharaj, he told one of his disciples that, please go to this part of Vrindavan and my particular god brother is staying there. Please request him that I've invited him for breakfast prasad tomorrow. Please go and request him that. So Tamal Krishna Maharaj, a disciple, went and requested this god brother of Tamal Krishna Maharaj that my Gurudev is calling you for breakfast prasad tomorrow. Please, can you come? So Tamal Krishna Maharaj's god brother told the disciple that tomorrow actually my schedule is very, very tight. I'll not, please tell Tamal Krishna Maharaj that I am very appreciative, I'm very grateful. He's called me, but I'll not be able to come. So the disciple went and told Tamal Krishna Maharaj that, Maharaj, Gurudev, I put forward a message to your god brother, but your god brother said that his schedule is very tight. He'll not be able to come to honor prasadam with you tomorrow. So Tamal Krishna Maharaj looked at his disciple and told him that there was one thing missing in when you put forward my request to my god brother. There was something missing. So the disciple didn't understand. So Tamal Krishna Maharaj said, see, I had a very strong intensity, a very strong desire to have my god brother for prasad tomorrow. But when you put forward this request of mine, you did not put it with the same intensity which I wanted him to come. So now do one thing. Go back again to my god brother, and now with that same intensity with which I wanted to come, with same intensity, you please put forward your request to him. So this time the disciple, he went to Tamal Krishna Maharaj's god brother, and this time with whatever intensity he had at his disposal, he put forward, and with a really humble request and with a lot of intensity, he told Tamal Krishna Maharaj's god brother that my Gurudev is calling you tomorrow. He really wants you to have prasad with him. Please, Prabhuji, kindly come, This time when he put so much intensity, then Tamal Krishna Maharaj's god brother, he thought, then he said, okay, I'll manage my schedule. Please tell your Gurudev, I'll come for breakfast prasad tomorrow, So this time the disciple went and told his Gurudev that, yes, Guru Maharaj, your god brother will be coming tomorrow for prasad. Again, the difference was that intensity. So sometimes, when we're doing some spiritual activities or, we feel that, why things are not happening in my life. मैं रोज 2 घंटा भागवतम पढ़ता हूँ, 16 माला नहीं 36 माला करता हूँ, 36 rounds I do all this, all that. But I don't find myself progressing much. If you really go deep down, you'll get your answer. It's a matter of intensity. We were doing these activities just as maybe a matter of tick mark. Tick mark. Okay, today I've done my Bhagavatam, tick mark. Today I've done my 60 rounds, tick mark. Today I've met this devotee in the temple, tick mark. Okay. Today I did my Gayatri on time, tick mark. We have to do a spiritual activity with intensity. Then we can see a very big difference in our spiritual life. Then, when talking about Draupadi, we know that, her 5 children, they were killed, very ruthlessly when they were sleeping. And imagine, you seeing your 5 children being killed in front of you. I mean, in your lifetime, lifespan, you see your 5 children brutally being killed. Imagine what an impact, how it would have affected Draupadi. It's beyond words to describe. Draupadi was so heartbroken. I don't know words to describe her heartbrokenness. So the 5 Pandavas and Krishna, they caught hold of Ashwatthama. Ashwatthama had killed all these 5 children. And then Bhima, Bhima wanted to do justice. Bhima's, sometimes when we do planning, we have plan A, plan B, plan C. Bhima has only plan A when it comes to justice. Just finish that person off. He's done this, he has to be killed. That's it. No plan B. So Bhima, when Ashwatthama was caught, the Pandava was there, Krishna was there, Bhima said that we have to just kill him. The type of activity he has done. But Draupadi, sometimes in the Mahabharata serial, she have been depicted in some other, limelight. But actually Draupadi, she was a very gentle, compassionate Vaishnava. Very gentle, compassionate devotee. So Draupadi, she told everyone that see, now Kripi, Ashwatthama's mother Kripi, she's all alone. And if you all kill Ashwatthama, Kripi will be very heartbroken. I can understand the pain which she may have to go through. I don't want Kripi to go through that experience of, being broken to the heart. So please do not kill Ashwatthama. This was the compassion of Draupadi. And when speaking of compassion, it is because of this compassion quality of a Vaishnava that there is supreme hope for this whole world. It's because of this compassion. You take, today you take yourself sitting here. If you really go back how you came to Krishna consciousness, you will see that it was the compassion of a Vaishnava or Vaishnav They jointly did or alone because of the compassion, with the loving touch and the loving glances. They cultivated us and brought us here. When speaking of compassion, I'm like, you see Haridas Thakur's compassion. The prostitute who came to, basically destroy Haridas Thakur. I'm like, in this today's world, if someone comes to destroy you, we make another strategy to destroy him. But Haridas Thakur, this prostitute came to destroy. But Haridas Thakur purposely stayed there for a longer time just for the benefit of that prostitute. And because of Haridas Thakur's chanting and her hearing that prostitute, her life changed after 3 days. And she surrendered to Haridas Thakur. And she became a very great saint. Imagine from, like a 360-degree change from a prostitute to becoming a big saint. How it was possible? Because of the compassion of a great Vaishnava, because of the compassion of Haridas Thakur. And then, when you're talking of compassion regarding Haridas Thakur, we can speak another story. When Haridas Thakur, he was being beaten at the marketplaces, when he was punished by the local administration there, and he was being beaten. And these people who was beating Haridas Thakur, Haridas Thakur was not dying. And the thing is, when these people who was beating Haridas Thakur was praying to the Lord, my dear Lord, these people who are beating me, please forgive them. Please give them your supreme mercy. I'm like, where will you hear such stories? Fairy tales also will not use such compassion story, the level of compassion. This was the level of compassion of Haridas Thakur. Then when you're speaking of compassion, Lord Nityananda, he would fall at the sinful atheist and he would beg them, please take the name of Gauranga. Imagine who's Lord Nityananda. He's the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He's falling at the feet of what? Atheists and begging them, please take the name of Gauranga. If you do it, I will, you will be my life and soul. This is the compassion level of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and the Vaishnavas. Then, when Durvas Muni was being chased by Sudarshan Chakra because of the offense of Ambrish Maharaj makes the following prayer to Sudarshan Chakra and Vishnu. Just see from this prayer. This prayer is by Ambrish Maharaj. He's making to Sudarshan Chakra and to Lord Vishnu. He's saying, if our family has given charity to the proper persons, if we have performed ritualistic ceremonies and sacrifices, if we have properly carried out our occupational duties, and if we have guided, and if we have been guided by learned Brahmanas, I wish in exchange that this Brahmana be freed from the burning caused by the Sudarshan Chakra. You can just see the compassion of Ambrish Maharaj. Then, when speaking of compassion of the Vaishnavas, there's the story. Once Ramanujan was crossing somewhere and he saw his cousin brother Govinda. You know what Govinda was doing? He was putting his hand in the mouth of a cobra. So Ramanujan later asked his cousin Govinda, what were you doing? You were putting a hand in the mouth of a cobra. Then Govinda said, actually there was something stuck in the mouth of that cobra and it was paining me to see that cobra in pain. What? It was paining Govinda to see the cobra in pain. God, if we see a cobra there, we will jump another 10 feet away, But Govinda, Vaishnava, so he put his hand in the cobra's mouth and took out that thing which was stuck. Obviously, we dare not even think of imitating, but this is the compassion quality of the Vaishnavas. Then, when you're talking of Draupadi, then in the Mahabharata, you will never come across, Draupadi, see, she had 5 husbands. You'll never come across that in Mahabharata, any place, you'll never come across that because Draupadi, there were misunderstanding among the 5 Pandavas. Or because of Draupadi, there were quarrel among the 5 Pandavas. Never you'll come across. Draupadi, she was such an expert that she managed her 5 husbands fantastically. And she kept them all happy and satisfied. Today, the people who are grastas, they will vouch, just to manage one partner, it's not an easy task. Huh? Just to manage one partner in today's world is not an easy task. There are hundreds of books written on married life. Why? Just to manage one partner. And in different languages. But, when we're talking of, Grast Ashram, I'm like, Draupadi, it's fantastic. And through her example, we can learn so many things. Today, like I told you, just to manage one partner is such a big issue. Sometimes just on small issues, there are divorces. Once in the Bandra court, a case had come that, husband and wife both wanted divorce. Why? The point was that the oil which the wife was using, it had a particular smell. And the husband asked the wife, "Bhai, thora apna oil ka brand change karo na. Please change oil brand." Wife said, "No, I will not change. I can change my husband, but I'll not change my oil brand, She gave that dialogue. Husband got really angry and the matter went in the court, for divorce. So imagine just for small, silly things. There are divorces and, partners are not manageable. Once what had happened is, there was a married couple, They were celebrating their 51st marriage anniversary. 51st marriage anniversary, imagine. So there was a party and, many friends had come. So the husband whose 51st marriage anniversary was being celebrated, one of his friends asked him, "Arey, great, you celebrating your 51st marriage anniversary, great. Can you tell me, how did you manage to celebrate your 25th marriage anniversary?" So this gentleman said, "My wife always wanted to go to Beijing, always. So I thought for my 25th marriage anniversary, I will take her to Beijing, So his friend said, "Wow, kya kamal ka husband hai, you fulfilled your wife's desire." So his friend asked him, "So for the 50th marriage anniversary, what did you do for your wife?" So the husband said, "On my 50th anniversary, I went back to Beijing to get her back." So the thing is, in today's scenario, it's a big challenge, the husband and wife, to keep them together, keep them happy together. But through Draupadi's example, we can learn and take inspiration from her. Then, time is okay. Okay, so we will speak on Subhadra Maya also. So in the purport, basically Prabhupada has written many things. So when we talk of Subhadra Maya, once Arjun, he was in the guise of sannyasi, and he was staying at Dwarka. And Subhadra, in one way, had already given a heart to Arjun and wanted to marry Arjun. Arjun also wanted to marry Subhadra. But Balramji was trying to marry Subhadra with Duryodhan. Sometimes Balramji's activities are beyond our, intelligence to understand, So, but then no one in the family except for Balramji wanted this marriage to happen. So here, we read in the purport, so Krishna devised a plan with Arjun that, see, Krishna, for his devotee will do anything, kidnap bhi karana, kidnap bhi kara denge. So Krishna told Arjun of a plan that you do like this on a certain day at this time. Subhadra will be there. You kidnap her. So with that plan, the kidnap was done. And when Balramji came to know, Balramji was furious. And Balramji came to know that sannyasi, I was serving him, and he turned out to be Arjun. So Balramji was more furious, and he was really getting ready to have punish Arjun. But then again, Krishna came, and Balramji ko thanda kiye, and then he managed the whole affair in such a way that Balramji became very cool, and then Balram himself arranged for this marriage in a very nice way, and a nice wedding took place. Then, when we're speaking of Subhadra Maya also, the story is also there, that once in the queens of Krishna, they went to Rukmini Devi, and they told Rukmini Devi that we want to hear the pastimes, childhood pastimes of Krishna and Balram. So Rukmini ji said, "See, I can start telling the pastimes of Krishna and Balram, but if Krishna and Balram, they somehow come to hear then, they will go in ecstasy and I don't know what will happen. So the queen said, don't worry. So the queens arranged, they said, okay, Subhadra will stand at the gate guarding that whenever, and she'll make sure that Krishna and Balaram don't hear what the pastimes are being discussed inside the room. So this plan was made. So the door was closed and Subhadra was guarding there just to see that Krishna and Balaram doesn't come. But as Rohini Maya was telling the pastimes, it was so sweet that Subhadra, through the door here, she was hearing that. And it was so sweet that she herself went in ecstasy. Eyes became big, hands went inside, And when Krishna and Balaram, they were passing, they saw this form of Subhadra. They said, what's going on? So Krishna and Balaram, they also put the ears. And when they heard the pastimes of Krishna and Balaram, when they were childhood, they went in ecstasy. Again, the eyes became big and became, shrunk. So all of three of them went in ecstasy. Now the thing is here, this pastime we can narrate for very long, and there's so many lessons, but we have just 10 minutes. So now from here, the pastimes of the Lord are so powerful that they themselves affect the Supreme Personality of Godhead in such a way. Imagine. The pastimes in the Lord itself are so powerful and so pure that, they can affect the Supreme Personality to that extent. But sometimes, sometimes we'll say, Srivas Thakur is saying, yeah, pastimes of the Lord is so powerful that it attracts the Supreme Personality of Godhead also. I'll tell you one instance. I'm like, when there's a story in the Ramayana that when Lord Ram, he was sitting on his, on his big throne, and Love and Kush, they were singing the Ramayana. And in the courtyard, all the people were there. And Love and Kush, they were singing the past in the Lord, of Lord Ram. It was so sweet that all the ministers, all the people present in the court, they were just looking at Love Kush. They were not even looking at Lord Ram, who was sitting on a big throne. And the pastime was so sweet that Lord Ram, he was sitting on the throne. He himself got down from the throne. He sat on the floor. He came down the steps. He sat down among the common peasants and just listening. And no one is knowing where is Lord Ram. And then, like something very nice, Love Kush was singing. One of the common people, patted Lord Ram. Wow, take kya point bola. So nicely they're saying, So the point here is that Lord Ram himself, he, in one sense, he was so attracted by the pastimes of the Lord. I'm like, the Lord is himself attracted by the pastimes of the Lord. But the question may come, why are not we being attracted? Why हमारा heart क्यों change नहीं हो रहा है? कपड़े को बहुत दाग लगता है, घिस के दाग निकल जाता है कभी, पर हमारा कुछ तो we are not getting those ecstasy. Forget ecstasy. Taste भी कभी नहीं आता है, So again, acharyas give us 2 points. They say that, see, because of our conditioned nature, we have been conditioned for 84 lakh species, so many birds we've been conditioned. So we have to do 2 things. One thing is that as an austerity, we have to hear Krishna Katha, pastime of the Lord. The second, we have to serve the Vaishnavas. These 2 points are very, very important. Together we have to do. When, as an austerity, we hear the pastime of the Lord, read Prabhupada books. And second, we serve the Vaishnavas. When we combine these 2, then Krishna, he gives us taste in reading and hearing about him. Yeah? And the more we read and hear, our taste will keep on increasing more and more and more. Then, time, okay. See, when we're talking of, especially, hearing is very, very important that we have to, as devotees, once Prabhupada said that, I have one complaint. Prabhupada said, I have a complaint that my disciples are not reading my books enough. Again, we may be initiate devotees, but sometimes, we sometimes are a little lacking on a regular reading. We may be doing maybe once a week, twice a week, but regular reading, we may be lacking. But it's very, very important. Acharyas give us the understanding that every day we have to be reading Srimad Bhagavatam. Every day, reading Prabhupada books, reading our Vedic literature. In this context, in Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 9, Text 11, in the purport, Prabhupada mentions that Dhruv Maharaj clearly says that this material ocean can be crossed very easily if one simply becomes mad to hear the glories of the Lord. Again, we have to be just mad to hear the glories of the Lord. Okay, so we have another 5 minutes. So today is a very, very historical day today. Very, very historical day. If it was not for today, maybe today none of us would be sitting here in this hall. If it was not for today's historical day, maybe this temple may not have been manifested. Today is the day when Prabhupada left for the USA on Jalud. Today was the day. It's a very, very historical day. And when today is the day when Prabhupada left on Jaludut for the USA. When we're speaking of compassion, I'm like, it was Prabhupada's compassion for all living entities that impelled him to go to Jaludut at the age of 70. Imagine, at the age of 70, at the age of 60, sometimes at the age of 55 only, nowadays we plan a retirement, 70 to dood ki baat. But here Prabhupada at 70 took a new project, which even, bubbling, enthusiastic people in the mid-30s also will think 100 times, to take such project up. Prabhupada at the age of 70, taking a project like this, it's just compassion, Srila Prabhupada for all of us. And it was like we were talking about Draupadi. Draupadi, when she raised her arm in complete helplessness and full dependence on Krishna. In the same way, when Prabhupada at the age of 70, when he left, he had full dependence on Lord Krishna. He had full dependence on Lord Krishna. My dear Lord, I am a puppet in your hand. You make me move the way you want to make me dance. You make me dance, my Lord. I am ready to your tune. Prabhupada had full dependence on Lord Krishna. See, what happens is that when people go to a new place, especially suppose someone from India is going first time to USA, they have a things to do list, things to do list in USA. What will they have? They'll have, okay, when I go to USA, I will see the Empire State Building. Then they'll have in the list, I'll go and see the White House. Then they'll have in the list, okay, when I go to you, I'll go and see the Niagara Falls. Then they'll have in the list, I'll go and visit the Walt Disney World. Then they'll have in the list, I'll go and see the Statue of Liberty. These will be the things to do list of people who go in the USA. But when Prabhupada went to USA, Prabhupada also had things to do list, which he kept in his heart. What were the things to do list for him in USA? It was, let me help people there to come out of the cycle of birth and death. That was in his things to do list when he reaches USA. Then he also had, let me share with people there what my Guru has given me. Then another thing which he had in his list was, let me be an instrument of Krishna's mercy there. Another thing which he had in his list was, let me give the joy of Krishna consciousness there. So this is the difference, when new people go, they have this things to do in USA, and Prabhupada, he had these things to do in his heart. And like we were talking of Prabhupada's compassion, there's a very beautiful story. Bhurujan Prabhu has written this book, My Glorious Master. In this book, Bhurujan Prabhu writes that once in 1972, in Philippines, in Manila, Prabhupada was scheduled to speak at Hotel Intercontinental's Grand Ballroom. So when Prabhupada was waiting for his turn to speak in front of Prabhupada, there was a small flag, wooden flag, very small, thin wooden flag. Then Prabhupada was just looking at it, and it broke. Then Prabhupada was smiling. Prabhupada was smiling, indicating, just see this material world, This material world is also so temporary. Then Prabhupada spoke to Bhurujan Prabhu. Then Prabhupada told Bhurujan Prabhu that I have a desire. Will you help me fulfill this desire? Bhurujan Prabhu said, please tell me what's your desire. Then Prabhupada said, my desire is that I want all living beings in the universe to go back to Godhead. What did Prabhupada say? I desire that all living beings in the universe go back to Godhead. Imagine, I'm like, this was the compassion of Srila Prabhupada. Because of this compassion of Srila Prabhupada today, we are sitting here hearing Srimad Bhagavatam. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So its time is up. We'll end Srimad Bhagavatam class here. So if anyone has any questions or comments, maybe we can take it in a minute. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki